Oh my god. I just got the best thing I have ever seen in my life in my recommended. My YouTube is poisoned by all the conservative content I watch for videos, so it ends up in my recommended sometimes. It is a Jesse Lee Peterson video. It is called Constructive Guidance, Respecting the Cops, and Picking Cotton. Jesse Lee Peterson. And the thumbnail is this. We're gonna watch that fucking video right now. We are watching this video right goddamn now. Do I speed it up? No, it's only 10 minutes. It is important that we keep Jesse Lee Peterson's cadence, speaking speed, and voice intact. I am not speeding this up at all. I'm not distorting this audio. Hell yeah. It's time for Jesse Lee Peterson. I mentioned this last stream, but I must tell you all, supposedly, and I've seen images that seem to prove this, and I've had multiple people who have met Jesse Lee Peterson in real life tell me this. Jesse Lee Peterson wears blue eye contacts, like fake blue eye contacts, to make himself look, I don't know, Aryan? Like the whiteness that is deep inside of him is like peering out through his eyes like he's going Super Saiyan. I don't know.
Hi, y'all.
I love him.
It is, I think it's not going to rain today. It's supposed to, but it rained yesterday. And so I think it's not going to rain today. But again, on tomorrow, they say, Wednesday. So LA is okay today for now, except for the illegals. It's raining illegals everywhere. I'm growing my Amerifro back. We'll see how long that lasts. But I'm growing.
I love him because he will just, like, casually say the most hilarious thing you've ever heard in your life and not even hang on it for even half a fucking second, with no awareness whatsoever that he just said the funniest shit in the world.
My Amerifro back. What the?
Amazing!
Amazing. It's not what you look like when you're doing what you're doing. It's what you're doing when you look like.
I have no idea what he just said.
What you're doing. What the? I've noticed that in my country, America, that constructed guidance is ending rapidly. If you try to point someone in the right way, you are hated for it. But if you point them in the wrong way, you're glorified for it. Isn't that amazing? It's amazing my country has changed like this. But I understand it. I'm saying these things, but now I understand.
Do I have to respond to any of his arguments at all? Basically what he's saying right now is, like, people who disagree with me are praised for disagreeing with me, and people who I agree with are shamed for agreeing with me. And it's like, doesn't that suck? Doesn't it suck that the world isn't moving towards what we agree with? This is a nightmare. This is the world falling apart. I'm sorry. You're losing.
Before I didn't understand why it was happening, but I do now. And above all things, get an understanding. Get an understanding. I now understand, talking about constructive guidance, according to rumble.com, Ring Kendall hit a nerve with the social media mob by teaching children to be respectful to the police. Watch this from X.
How you doing, sir? Doing good. First thing I want to do is already have my stuff ready, okay?
Yes, sir.
You don't want to get to the freaking car, and when he gets to the car, you got to go fumbling around looking for stuff, right? Regardless of whether they should or shouldn't feel.
Wait, nobody on the left is against this. What? I mean, there might have been some. Listen, I'm gonna be real. The right may be foundationally based on retardation, but there are plenty of idiots on the left, okay? There are tons of real dumb people on the left, and they can say the darndest things, can't they? But I would say the majority of progressives would absolutely agree with what this guy is doing. The rate at which, like, innocent, completely, well, intending to be compliant, innocent black people have been just, like, killed or grievously wounded or brutalized by the police. because of basically a misunderstanding, because cops are jumpy, have racial biases, and like it doesn't even matter whether or not you agree or disagree with said racial bias. You have to recognize it exists. It is there. And the fact that racial bias exists means that cops are jumpier when they're, say, pulling over a black man. Cops get jumpy in that situation. Maybe not like, oh, they're going to shoot any second, but there's a noticeable increase in caution and preparedness for things to go bad. Maybe racial profiling. Call it just simply being aware of crime statistics. If you're afraid of saying cops are racist, fine, whatever the fuck. Regardless, you have to recognize that that is a real concern. And when it comes to dealing with the police, frankly, regardless of what your race is, but the fact that this is a thing that is being done specifically to help reduce the amount of potential future innocent black men being shot by cops when they're reaching to get their wallet to show their ID, it's just really good to teach this kind of stuff. Things like keeping your hand on the steering wheel, having everything there and prepared before the cop even approaches the car so he doesn't see you fumbling around, being compliant and polite with everything, keeping the window down, turning off music, not attempting to make any sudden movements or getting out, like all sorts of things like this. Very important to teach regardless of what your race is. But yeah, I don't see this. This isn't so much respecting cops so much as self-preservation.
Feel unsafe, that makes somebody feel unsafe, you fumbling around, because things happen, right?
Yes, sir.
So when they get there, the first thing you want to do is already have your license ready and have your hands on the steering wheel. You understand?
Yes, sir.
Have your hands on the steering wheel. Why?
Yep.
Because before they don't think you reach for them.
So you're not reaching for stuff, right?
Yes, sir.
All right, cool. And another thing I want to do, I'm gonna let all my windows down, okay? I ain't got nothing to hide, right?
Yes, sir.
No, this guy's based. This guy's actually based. Realistically, you have nothing to hide. You're not breaking the law. Don't get cagey with cops. Comply and you'll be all right. If they detain you or arrest you, ask if they're doing as such, and if they say yes, you invoke the fifth and you fucking shut the hell up until you got a lawyer.
Let all my windows down in the car, and if
The lawyer does all the talking to the cops for you.
it's nighttime, I'm gonna turn the car light on so he can see everything in the car, right?
Yes, sir.
We already starting the stop off great. He probably in a good mood that I done let the window down, I done turned the lights on. He probably in a better mood now, right? We're not talking smack, we not cussing, we not telling them what our rights is, blase, blase, blah. We're not doing none of that, you understand?
Yes, sir.
We're trying to get home.
This is good advice. Exactly. When a cop pulls you over, you encounter a cop, you're trying to get home. And when he said that, that's a double entendre. That means two things at once. That both means you're trying to get home quick, you don't want to get a ticket, you're not trying to have trouble. It also means you want to make it home tonight. You want to see your family tonight, and you want to live. Because it could go way worse than just you get a ticket, or you end up with a night in jail. So that means two things at once, I feel. So, I like that video a lot. That's based as fuck. I'm sorry, we don't like cops. Cops cringe and all. But, like, you are not going to change the state of American policing by being defiant to a cop. You're just going to risk your own life. And frankly, the more forthcoming and the less cagey you are with cops, typically the less suspicious they're going to be of you. And even if you genuinely broke the law, believe it or not, cops have the discretion as to whether or not they're going to write you a ticket or give you a warning on a lot of things. And sometimes they'll say, gonna let you off with a warning here. And they just let you fucking go. Literally, all you need to do for that is for the cop to like you and feel bad. And you may not like cops and think they're incapable of feeling bad for you and liking you and letting you off with a warning. But frankly, the worst way you could get that to happen, the best way you can ensure it won't happen, is to start off the traffic stop badly. Yeah, I don't see anything wrong with that video. I don't know why anyone would freak out about it. I'm pretty sure people weren't. Broadly.
What's wrong with that, right? I mean, teaching the children how to respect the cops and how to be stopped, it should be already taught in the home.
That's not respect, that's fear. That's not... Well, to conservatives, respect and fear are practically synonymous, to be fair, so I guess they don't really make the distinction.
The parents set their children up to overreact when the cops stop them by telling. They're teaching them at home.
I promise you, there are no parents teaching their kids to overreact when cops pull them over. Parents like having alive children, typically. And parents tend to know what happens when kids get, like, violent or too loud and in a cop's face, they want their kids to come home to them. I promise you, no, Jesse Lee Peterson. Parents are not teaching their kids to get violent or over the top with cops. That is not happening. No parent is doing that. At least, there's always someone doing something, but you know what I mean.
What to expect, what to do. You're black and be scared and be ready. This guy is teaching them the right thing. But if the parents were right, they wouldn't have to teach the children that. They would automatically know that. No one ever sat me down or anyone I know down and tell them, well, when the cops stop you, here's what you should do. But over the years, I do know, and I remember when I first started my nonprofit 34 years ago.
I mean, my mom told me all this stuff since I was like 6 years old, just to be like as compliant with police as possible until they start like telling you you're not allowed to go anywhere, at which point you ask if you're detained, and if they say yes, you ask for a lawyer. Like, that is just the basic rundown of it that my mom has told me since as long as I can remember, to prepare me for any time I might encounter police as an adult. And thankfully, I have never had any like run-ins or trouble with the law, because I don't break the law. I'm a good boy. Yeah, no, you're completely right about that, by the way, Ride the Rails. I grew up Christian, and I was actually taught that to fear God was to respect him, so it'd make sense for people to apply that to other authorities. Remember, Christians fundamentally believe it's not about being a good person, it's not about following the scripture on a most fundamental level. What really matters the most, what is the true determinator of whether or not you will be allowed into the kingdom of heaven, is whether or not you accept Jesus Christ as your Lord, not just Savior, but Lord. And when they say Lord, they mean that in every way, shape, and form. Jesus Christ is your master. God is your master. Jesus and God are the same thing, but also not the same thing. The idea is that you are supposed to accept God as being your master, and you are completely subservient. And you have to view God that way. It's not about being a good person or following the scripture or any of that. Fundamentally, the determiner is whether or not you truly consider God your master. I'm not joking, by the way. That's 100% correct.
So, the parents, the black representatives, and some of the parents were teaching the children that the cops hated them, and that you're black, and when the cops stop you, it's racist. So the kids are already mad because they, in their mind, which is not their own, by the way.
Well, you're allowed to be mad. You just have to keep the fucking lid on and keep yourself alive.
They're thinking, well, the cops stopped me because I'm black. My parents said it.
Everyone's mad when the cops pull them over. No one likes it. That's not how it works. What that cop was teaching was, or not, I imagine that guy was a cop, or maybe that guy working with the cops was teaching, was even if you're mad, because everyone's mad when they get pulled over, even if you feel like you're being discriminated against, doesn't matter. This is how you get out of this without getting in trouble and without dying. Or at least how you get the highest chance of doing so.
The representative said it. You shouldn't have to teach the kids this. But this man is teaching that, and the folks got mad because they don't want the children to be right.
They don't want the children
to be right. They want them
right.
angry. They want...
Hey, the left doesn't want children to be right. They want them to be angry. Very well put, Jesse. Well put.
Them violent. They want them out of control. They make money when these kids act that way.
Okay, so does the left want kids violent and acting out of control, or do they want kids doped up on drugs that turn them into zombies for big pharma?
Government programs and DNI, or whatever. You make a lot of money when the blacks are violent. And they go in your pocket, not even the kid's pocket. That's amazing. That's right on to the guy that's trying to teach them that. And I want to know.
Do you want to know what's fucking crazy? This guy's career and main bread and butter is not internet, it's radio. This has 4,000 views. This is not a big video, but this might have had 100 plus thousand listeners. on the radio. I'm not even joking. This guy's radio show is quite big, and he has a very dedicated following, and like he is a reverend too. He has like his own church and his own flock as well. That's like run out of his studio.
Oh, I want to know what's wrong with picking cotton. I have, and I know, and I would tell my producer Sean this morning that I know there's a stigma on picking cotton now, but it's a made-up stigma. And
whew. Wow. Okay. Where do we start with this one? Now, I'm going to start very light, okay? When I was a kid, me and my grandma grew some cotton plants in her garden, just for fun. And the way that you harvest them is after a while, the entire plant dries up into this, like, dark brown, like, dried out, shrivelly stem all the way through. And what was once the flower buds, or the flowers, turn into these buds that then harden into these shells, and they eventually pop, and they crack open, and out comes the cotton, just kind of flowing out of it, and it's just there. Now, that like hardened shell from the pod where all the cotton was stored before it popped open, which is when you harvest, that is sharp as fuck. It stabs and it slices. And something that me and my grandma did was we handpicked the cotton. We obviously picked it off of that, and then we obviously split it open and got all the, like, shit out of the cotton to make it clean. But then there's also the seeds in there. There's, like, throughout the, like, actual cotton fluff. The cotton fluff is literally just a transport mechanism for cotton seeds. That's all it is. Just so happens it's also a very comfortable, soft material we can weave into fabric. And so, the problem with, like, picking cotton, fundamentally, the reason why it's such horrible labor is, for one, a cotton plant's about yay tall. Here, I'll go full screen so you can see. A cotton plant is about yay tall. You have to bend over or get on your hands and knees to pick it. So the labor itself, just fundamentally from the start, is quite degrading if you have to do it by hand. You have to, like, bend over and be on your hands and knees. It's not fun. And on top of that, it is unpleasant. It is sharp. It slices you up. It stabs you up. It cuts your hands up like fucking crazy. It's not pleasant work. I found it fun to do a couple of cotton plants in my grandma's garden, but I mean obviously doing it on an industrial scale is a fucking nightmare. Like an actual fucking nightmare. And that's a million other factors added on how it could be worse. That's the first reason why there is a stigma against picking cotton. The least serious reason why. The other big reason why is that famously in America, in the South, we did this thing called slavery. Now, there were many groups that were enslaved and sold off as property despite being people in the United States, but predominantly and overwhelmingly, Black Americans were not seen as people constitutionally in America. I don't know if it was constitutionally, but the Continental Congress still decided that a black person was less of a person than a white person, so that's practically constitutionally. With that said, though, back then, black people were just not seen as people, right? And so, by default, they were seen as property. And so slavery was practiced, and agriculture the South, which is where slavery was the most practiced, is where agriculture really made the economy go round. And so, cotton was one of those crops. It was, like, I believe, called a cash crop. And it was used to it was used to enrich the South, but to do so, they tortured and labored millions upon millions of black people, treated them as property, not well-treated property for that matter. And it was just pretty torturous through and through. It was one of the biggest atrocities ever. Yeah, no, it was pretty bad. I think that's why there's a stigma. I think that's why.
And the traders have made that look bad because they wanted to look like slavery, and the blacks are suffering, and they're doing that for personal gain as well.
I'm almost certain there is slavery involved in the production of cotton clothing even today. It's quite well known that the clothing industry has a lot of slavery in it, notably child slavery.
They want to try to make racism exist, and so they can get money from that, programs and things like that.
For the record, Jesse Lee Peterson has said, and I quote, "There is no such thing as racism, sexism, homophobism, deadbeat dadism." I forget what the rest of them were.
Speaking events and stuff like that. I never thought of picking cotton as a stigma, and I grew up doing it. I grew up picking cotton, right? And not one.
Dude, imagine Jesse Lee Peterson's origin story is that, like, flashback to, like, I don't even know. I don't even know, like, the 1600s in America. In the Americas, like, the colonies are first starting up, right? And slavery's first getting its, like, foothold in the deep South. Like, it is the peak of the most racist America has ever been, right? And like, it's America's not even America yet. That's how racist and far back it is. And there is a man in a field who is like working, miserable, hates his life, wishes with all of his heart for something better, says he will never ever lack gratefulness for whatever future life he has if it's better than this. And then suddenly a time portal opens in front of him, like crackling, like something out of Terminator. Not knowing what to do and seeing that there's something on the other side, he believes his wish has been granted and he walks through. Next thing he knows, he wakes up in... Hold on. He wakes up on May 22nd, 1949, and takes on a new name upon seeing the new woke future he has arrived in. Jesse Lee Peterson. And he dedicates his life to being grateful for how much less racist it is now than where he came from. And now he does nothing but shame people who can't be grateful for how much better it is now than then. That is the only reasonable backstory I can imagine for someone like Jesse Lee Peterson. It genuinely makes more sense to me than him just existing and that's just how he is. It also lines up with that origin story he just told.
Once did I hear my grandparents or my parents or the other people that lived on the plantation and worked in the cotton field with us, not once did I hear them.
Did he just say he lived on a plantation and worked on a cotton field? Guys, I think my theory was right. I was legitimately second-guessing whether it was smart to make that, like, long-running bit there. Like, are people gonna call me racist for that one? I feel like people might, like, get mad at me for that. And then he says, yeah, when I was picking cotton on the plantation. Wait, what? 1949. Wait, hold on. Guys. The last black chattel slave in America, besides, like, if we're counting the criminal justice system, was freed from slavery in the 1970s. Yes, I know that's insane. It involved grandfather contracts, bullshit like that. Yes. Slavery was still technically happening in the U.S. up until the 1970s. Jesse Lee Peterson was born in the 1950s. God knows where. What the fuck is he saying right now? I think I have a theory. A game theory.
I'm saying, oh, this is a stigma. They were just going to work and trying to pick as much as possible so when they weigh the cartons at the end of the day, they can make as much money as possible. They never thought of it as a stigma, but you've been lied to and made to believe that that's what it is. Because
you've been lied to about slavery to stigmatize it. Uh-huh.
Because you're gullible. You've been lied to about picking cotton. Isn't that amazing? And now it's a stigma. And it's not, folks. It was a job. It was like cutting grass or anything else that you did. It's a job. It's like going to work at a car dealership or building cars or whatever. It was just a job. It wasn't thought of as this way. You've been so brainwashed that it's hard. Picking cotton is not a stigma. And what happened was, just like they do with everything now.
What fucking universe are we in, guys? What fucking world have we entered at this point? God help us all.
When they start computerizing everything, they make machines that will pick cotton. It will go faster. I guess it costs less or whatever, and then people had to stop. They moved away or they got...
Wait, is he mad that automation made it so people don't have to do the labor of picking fucking cotton? Is he saying that there should be more, particularly black people, picking cotton again? I hope that, like, when I die, I get to learn all the secrets of the universe or something like that. And, like, for the split second before my consciousness ceases to exist. And in that moment, I get to find out what the fuck this guy's deal is.
To the city, got manufacturing job or something. But it was never a stigma. You've been lied to. I'm telling you that because I picked the cotton. And I may buy a plantation and take everybody back so they can pick cotton and learn how to work. And be proud of working, not ashamed of working. No matter what kind of work you did. Here's from ABC, a black farmer looked to rethink the stigma of picking cotton. Watch this compilation.
And just like that, cotton planting season has begun.
Oh no.
My name is Julius Tillery. I'm the founder of BlackCotton.us. I'm a fifth-generation cotton farmer from Northampton County, North Carolina.
The difference is they own the land and are getting paid for their labor. That's very different from the reason why picking cotton is stigmatized.
You're trying to change the brand of cotton within black culture.
Absolutely. It is important for us as a black-owned family farm to be able to support our community.
Is Jesse Lee Peterson taking woke people doing, like, woke things and calling it conservative? This is a progressive thing to do. They are clearly progressive people. They're clearly woke, who are doing a thing that is progressive, which is trying to like they are actively, they are presumably ethically producing cotton and offering it as a way of destigmatizing the material in the black community. That doesn't really sound like something conservative. That sounds pretty woke to me. Is like both of these examples that Jesse Lee Peterson have shown look like progressives doing progressive things, and he's like, look at these good conservative people the left are freaking out about, and he hasn't even shown any examples of the left freaking out about them. I mean, I know we don't come here for good arguments. It's fucking Jesse Lee Peterson, but still.
Through our products, such as our green leafy vegetables and our cotton. We're from an area that raises a lot of cotton, so we wanted to make cotton something that we could be proud of.
Cotton is our culture. And Julius came up with
by the
this
way,
idea.
That's a pretty good showcase of what I was talking about before with how miserable it is. It may not look like it here, but like the cotton itself is just fucking sharp. Not this. This is the fluff. This is the fluff I'm talking about. But like this is like the shattered pod. These look like they've almost been semi-picked a little bit. But like this, okay. It's hard to imagine. But it's not as simple as just, oh, you just pluck that little cotton ball and just, boop, it comes right out. No. When you grab that and you pull, it pulls apart like cotton candy. And the more you pull, the more that keeps coming out. And so you keep on slowly eating away at one single pod of cotton as you keep pulling on it until eventually you get to the very bottom of this like extremely densely packed single pod of cotton. And at the very bottom, you're eventually reaching in and you have to like feel your fingers getting peeled. Like along these bits here, you feel your fingers because it's like the pod is like this and you're reaching in and you're like picking it out. And so the pod is like scraping your fingers as you have to reach in and pull out for the last bits of each pod to get every little bit of cotton out. It is not pleasant work.
Make cotton something that we could be proud of.
Cotton is
look at that. That frame right there was the one I was looking for. That was the one I wanted to show. See that? That's what I'm talking about. It may look like it'll crumble apart or maybe it'll bend. I promise you it doesn't. I promise you it doesn't. It's as hard as wood. It's as hard and sharp as wood. It'll give you splinters.
Cotton is
It'll
our
cut
culture.
you.
And Julius came up with this idea of taking his cotton and turning it into a raw product. For us to actually get the cotton out the field, we still had to do it by hand, but we cut them down and stuff them in boxes. We could either break it down in balls, we pull the cotton out to make husk, or either we will use the cotton and we'll clean it by hand and we'll turn it into some bouquets, we'll turn it to a wreath, we'll turn it into a vase arrangement, and we make husk jewelry with it as well.
A lot of times we're raised.
Okay, this is entering weird territory, but I mean, they've got the spirit.
To believe that we don't have opportunities that close to us, or that we have to go out to find them. And that may be true, but sometimes if we look around at what's around us and the assets around us, we can be able to build opportunities and connect with people all across the world. If I don't create a new history for us, it will always be a bad history. So I think it's really important that the work I do to help foster a better ideal around cotton is important.
Wow. Amazing. God bless.
Amazing. I love him. I genuinely do. There's really nothing else to say about it. I love him. I love Jesse Lee Peterson. He took something pretty progressive and inoffensive and turned it into, when I was on the plantation. My God. Oh, my mind is blown by him every time. He will never cease to amaze me.